It's February 8th, 1587. A cold morning. A window veiled in mist, silence broken only by the rustle of fabric. Mary Stuart, the former Queen of Scots, combs her hair one last time and kneels to pray. She knows that in just minutes she will face execution, and she knows the whole world is watching. In her chamber, a candle burns. Her closest attendants, Jane Kennedy and Elizabeth Curley, dress her in a long crimson cloak. Beneath it lies the gown of a martyr. Mary prays in Latin, holding a crucifix and a small watch in her hands. Outside, witnesses gather. It was a public execution, for the death of a queen was no ordinary event. People came with dread, others with morbid curiosity. Mary walks through the halls of Fotheringhay Castle with a calmness that chills the crowd more than the winter wind. But how did she end up here? How did one of Europe's most powerful women reach the moment an executioner struck her neck with a blunt axe? Not once, but twice? Mary was crowned Queen of Scots at just 9 months old. Her father, James V, had died shortly after her birth. As a child, she was sent to France, raised at the royal court, a world culturally, religiously, and linguistically far from divided and turbulent Scotland. At 16, she became Queen of France as the wife of Francis II. But he soon died, and Mary, an 18-year-old widow, returned to Scotland to rule a land she barely knew. And she was different. She spoke French, practiced the Catholic faith, and was used to the refinement of court life. She was educated, beautiful, charismatic, and dangerous, at least in the eyes of her enemies. Most importantly, she was the rightful heir to the English throne. To many Catholics, she was the true Queen of England, while Elizabeth I was seen as illegitimate. Elizabeth I, the Protestant Queen of England, harbored personal and political distrust toward Mary Stuart. Mary was not only a Catholic, but also granddaughter of Henry VII, which gave her a claim to the English throne through the Catholic line. That made her not just a relative, but a rival. Add to this the fact that Mary's second husband, Lord Darnley, was also descended from the Tudor line. When he was murdered under mysterious circumstances and Mary soon married the prime suspect, Lord Bothwell, scandal erupted in Scotland. Many saw it as undeniable, compelling proof that Mary had approved of the killing. Mary was forced to abdicate and flee to England. She believed Elizabeth would help her reclaim the throne. Instead, Elizabeth imprisoned her for 19 years, in isolation, in a foreign land. During her captivity, Mary became a symbol of Catholic opposition. Across Europe, debates raged. How long would Elizabeth keep a queen locked away? And above all, what if someone tried to set her free? In reality, Mary was kept in various castles, always under strict watch. Most of her possessions were taken, her letters were monitored. Yet she still managed to reach the outside world. In 1586 came the so-called Babington Plot, a plan to assassinate Elizabeth and place Mary on the throne. Mary corresponded with the conspirators using ciphers, believing she was safe. But the code was broken and the messages intercepted, including the single line that sealed her fate. "I approve of your plan. Let it be carried out." Some historians believe it was a trap, a forged exchange of letters designed to incriminate Mary. But the truth will never be known. Elizabeth hesitated. This was no ordinary decision. The execution of a queen, and moreover her own relative, was a step that could shake the very foundations of monarchy. Royal blood carried an almost sacred status in Europe at the time. Killing a queen was not just the removal of an enemy, it was a rupture of order itself. Elizabeth was educated, politically shrewd. She knew that executing Mary Stuart could turn her into a martyr. Yet the pressure mounted. Mary's supporters would not relent. and conspiracies against Elizabeth multiplied. The revelation of the so-called Babington plot, in which Mary had seemingly agreed to the plan to murder Elizabeth, was the final straw. The Queen's Council pressed for judgment. Church leaders demanded the traitor's punishment. And at last, after months of wavering, Elizabeth signed the death warrant. Strangely, she later claimed that her secretary had dispatched the document without her explicit permission. Was it an excuse, an attempt to wash her hands of guilt, or proof of her inner struggle? It was the morning of February 8, 1587. Mary Stuart was awakened early before dawn. She was given time to pray, to dress, and to bid farewell to her servants. She chose a crimson gown, the color of Catholic martyrdom. She knew this moment would be remembered for centuries. With her head held high, she entered the great hall of Fotheringhay Castle, where witnesses were already waiting. A coffin stood there too, symbolically prepared for her body. Mary looked around, bowed and declared, "I die a Catholic, a queen, and an innocent woman." She then knelt, placed her head upon the block, and the executioner, unskilled and nervous, failed in his task. The first blow did not sever her head. The second blow still did not. Only the third strike ended her life. When the executioner raised Mary's head and cried, "God save the Queen," her hair slipped from his hand. It was a wig. What remained in his palm was false. What remained on the ground was a bloody stump. The crowd was horrified. Many turned away. Others wept. The execution was brutal, painful, raw, yet still dignified. Mary died as a queen. The execution of Mary Stuart shook Europe. Catholic powers, especially Spain, saw the act as godless and unforgivable. While silence reigned in England, in Rome the bells tolled in mourning. In the eyes of many, Mary became a martyr, a woman who died for her faith. King Philip II seized upon the event as a pretext for war. A year later, a vast fleet appeared on the horizon, the Spanish Armada. More than 130 ships, thousands of soldiers, the pride of Catholic Spain, and the belief that Protestant England would fall. But fate had other plans. Storms and the swift maneuvers of the English fleet changed history. The Armada was crushed. England celebrated victory, but the shadow of the executed queen remained. Elizabeth defended herself before the public, claiming she had never agreed to the execution. But few believed her. Politically, she survived, but her moral reputation was forever stained. Mary Stuart, in death, became a legend. In paintings and chronicles, she appeared in her crimson gown, the color of blood, faith, and martyrdom. To Catholics, she was a saint. To poets, a tragic heroine. Her image became iconic. In engravings, she kneels with a rosary in hand. In portraits, she bears a calm, resigned expression. Artists painted her bathed in halos of light, as a woman who surrendered to fate without faltering. In Paris, her portraits were sold as relics of an innocently executed queen. Centuries later, her story returned to the stage as tragedy. Schiller gave her voice again. The Romantics saw in her a symbol of female courage and suffering. Her fate drew painters, poets, and filmmakers, and it still draws them today. Then came history's irony. Her son, James VI, the boy she never saw again after fleeing Scotland, became King of England after Elizabeth's death. As James I, he united Scotland and England under one crown. History had closed the circle. The woman who had longed all her life for the English throne never sat upon it. Yet her bloodline finally did. The question remains, was Mary a traitor or a victim? An ambitious queen who sought to overthrow Elizabeth, or merely a dangerous symbol in the eyes of those who feared change? In her final letter she wrote, I write to you, my sister in Christ, for the last time. I am prepared to die, not as a criminal, but as a woman destroyed by politics, envy, and power. Her words still echo today, an echo of a time when a crown could be both a blessing and a curse. And so her shadow still walks through history, a reminder that in the struggle for power, kings and queens become nothing more than pieces on the great chessboard of time, and few ever escape the price demanded by their crown.